Hello everybody, welcome to a new day. Kind of looking like a hot mess, it's fine. It's Tuesday, but it feels like Monday because we had a long weekend. I'm back to having a day home kiddo, so I'm going to try and film around our day a little bit. I've been in the kitchen all day, just cooking, baking, making some sourdough loaf. We're testing our sourdough starter to see if it's ready by making a test bread. So we've just had a whole bunch of rain, and I got some new plants to pop in because we had an issue with the seedlings, just because it was time to plant them outside, but it was still too cold. We had some, what are they called, like fungus gnats. We had some fungus gnats and they were spreading, and then my raspberry bushes had spider mites from a freaking plant that I just took a chance on and brought home, and I shouldn't have. You have egg on your face, Carly. Anyway, they needed to come out, so I was like expecting to lose some, but I got these strawberries that came in a pack of 10, and they were rolled up, and they just didn't do well and they didn't survive, so I just planted them to see if they would come back. Hello. And they didn't, so I just bought new ones today. I've got some yarrow for the front and a few other things, so we're gonna plant those now, and I'll talk at you guys in a second when there's not kids trying to chat around me. But yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Carly's just loving life. Are you just loving life?
Yeah.
Loving life. So I went to the dollar store and I found these stick fencing. They're super stretchy. Look how cool that is. So my peas are an heirloom bush variety. So I just am putting this in to give them a little bit of support. They don't need to climb, but keeping them clung to a low-lying fence like this will just keep them a little bit off the ground to prevent things like, mildews and such things like that. The dogs are just sniffing everything because they haven't been out exploring in 2 days because it's been raining. So I'm just going to pop this along my peas and hopefully they like it. Perfection. I love free plants.
You gotta rip some of the roots of it.
We got 2 strawberry plants in 1 tin. That's always a great deal.
If you step here and go in, that would be better, right? And then you can get in.
1 for you. And 1 for you. I was just saying, I meant to grab 5 and I only grabbed 4. Alright, it's a little later in the day. Kiddo's gone home, so I'm making dinner. I'm making a roast ham and some broccoli and some steamed rice. I want to show you. I'm making some sourdough bread. Sourdough bread. It's in there. We're waiting. It's a long process. If you don't know, it takes 2 days to make sourdough bread because you leave it in the refrigerator overnight. I wanted to chat with you since we were doing garden things, and then I thought maybe I would give you a little tour of the garden and explain how it's held up over the rain and the cold, because during the rain it dipped down quite low, but everything seems to have survived aside from the strawberries that I didn't think would survive anyway. I don't know if I talked to you guys about that because the kids were talking to each other a lot, and I have to be really careful about what I allow in the vlogs when I'm respecting other families' privacy. Obviously, it's very complicated to watch other children in my home and also do YouTube. So if I didn't mention, so we had a little bit of an infestation, and then it got to a point where my plants weren't going to survive inside anymore, so it was time to risk it all, and they were either going to die of this little infestation that was happening, or they were going to die outside but at least outside they had a chance. These glasses are dirty. I went with my gut and I put them outside and everything did really, really well. My chamomile looked a little rough at first because it looked like maybe it wouldn't survive, but it just killed off kind of the outside of the chamomile, and then it came back beautifully after these rains, so I'm really happy it's gonna thrive. It's gonna be totally fine. And more importantly, all of the little fungal gnats died in the transfer. So that was perfect. And now they have, because the problem is when you start seeds inside, it's hard depending on your growing season. Here in zone 3, it's really a gamble of when to start seeds. A lot of people go, oh, first frost, but if you can get your plants out, you should, because it'll extend your growing season, thus extending your harvesting season a little bit, and a couple of weeks really make a huge difference. So if you accidentally start seeds a little earlier, because last May was really warm and this May has been quite cool, so they just couldn't go out as soon as I had hoped they would be. But here's the thing, every single time you garden, nothing is ever going to be perfect. I like to think of the garden as a classroom. It is continuously teaching you things. One year will not be the same as the next. If you have one year where your tomatoes are gorgeous, they could be terrible the next year. And it's not, sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's not, because you just have to work with your zone, the weather, the season. Right now we've moved to a new home, obviously, most of you guys know that, so it's like an entirely different experience. There's a lot that I am probably going to do wrong. There's a lot that might fail. I'm getting to know this garden, right? I'm getting to know this space and how my yard reflects the heat. We're fully south-facing. I get sun all day long, from like high sun from like 10 a.m. till probably 9 p.m. in the summer. So that's a lot of full sun. And it's just different. It's a different growing environment. So if you are new to gardening, even if you're not, it's always good to remember that no matter how long you've been gardening, it's a learning process. And some years are just not your year, and some years are great, and some years you have successes and failures, and you're going to every single year. It's just the way it is. That's part of gardening. So for you new gardeners out there, that's just a bit of encouragement, hopefully. It's not you don't have a black thumb. You just you just need to learn and be open to learning and be open to trying new things. And some things you try are gonna fail miserably, and some things are gonna give you the most beautiful crops you've ever had. And that's wonderful. Hi, buddy. Grayson's painting birdhouse. But anyway, that's just a little tidbit of encouragement for you guys. Oh, there's just so many factors. Raised beds, semi-raised beds, in-ground gardening. It totally depends. How rainy is it? Ugh, it's crazy. But I definitely wanted to give you guys a gardening tour and kind of share with you my wins and losses so far. I keep a gardening journal. Do I have it down here? I bought this gardening planner off Amazon, and I will link it down below. And it's very cute, garden planner and logbook. And in it, I'm able to record, for example, it looks like this, and you're able to, put down the date and your to-do list, your to-buy list, and so it kind of helps you navigate, and nothing is dated. You put all the numbers in yourself, so it can last you quite a long time, and if you skip a week, it's not a big deal. I hate that about planners sometimes, where when they have set in dates, it just, if you miss a week, it just like is this blank page and it bothers me. So something I am currently putting in is things that worked and problems that I had. And this has this note section in the beginning, and then it starts like your month. And so I'm in the middle of writing so that I remember. So next year I can pull out my gardening journal and I can be like, okay, we had a fungal gnat infestation in the beginning. Maybe don't use that seed starter that you use, or maybe don't use that soil that you had bought, or maybe don't pick this up from the nursery that early, or something like that. I can just keep notes so that next year, hopefully, my losses this year can be wins next year. And it's just a really good idea to write down what's going on in your garden, because trust me, you will absolutely forget, unless you have a mind of steel. And in that case, I admire you, because that is not me. Something else I also wrote down was my companion planting. which I always forget. So I did a big list of companion, there's like 2 pages of just so I could remember when laying out my garden. And then I made a garden plan to lay everything out so that everything had a buddy and nothing that didn't like each other was beside each other. I'm thinking of maybe doing kind of like an artsy companion planting guide, maybe a printable. I don't know. I think that could be fun and it might be useful to you guys, because I know that companion planting lists can be very overwhelming because there's so many different ones. So even to create this list and remember, I had to like bounce around a lot of different sources. So again, very cute, very simple, and I will link this in the description box below. I usually have something called links in this video or video links. There's something that's very clearly labeled, and it'll be under that. So see, it's like different seasons. Nice. And this is like the starter page of it for summer, and there's a grid, so you can do grid planting and label each plant by letter. So you guys said you wanted to see a lot of plants, a lot of gardening, lots of seasonal content, right? I'm kind of a seasonal content girl. In the summer I garden, in the winter I miss Christmas, and there's a lot in between. So the strawberries were the other thing that didn't work this year. The original strawberry plants I bought, I went to this cool little nursery in the city, and there were these packs of strawberry plants that had 10 in each one. And I was like, oh, awesome, that's a sick deal. And I bought them, but they mildewed inside, and there was mushrooms growing inside of them. They just were staying way too wet, and they just were looking really sad. So by the time I planted them, I did plant them because I'm like, do you know what? Your garden can surprise you. Some plant that looks half dead can come back. It happens to me all the time with like houseplants that I rescue, and it's happened to me before in the garden where something that looked really dead came back and was a beautiful plant. So I planted them and just let them see what they were gonna do. I got my other strawberries and they inevitably died, so I just replaced them today. That's what you saw. You saw me replacing strawberries. You saw me replacing some of my tomatoes. I didn't have any cherry tomatoes, and most of my heirloom tomatoes were attacked by the fungal gnats, and I have one lone little survivor that is looking so sad, but he is strong and he's hanging in there. So we might get an heirloom tomato plant this year, but I am not betting anything on it. I will show you in a minute. And so I bought 2 cherry tomato plants, as well as my, I think it's like Better Boy. I think I have some Better Boys in there. That's just the variety of like larger tomato, and that is doing really well. It was a little risky planting him a little early, but apparently all my tomato plants are boys. And then you saw me planting some more chamomile because I need a lot of chamomile. I planted seeds, but I just got some more plants in there, and whatever seeds come up, my garden is going to be a little bit wild, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I want to see what it does. I want to see how much I fit, if I have gaps, or if I have way too much overcrowding. It's kind of an experiment, the first year in the garden. Okay, Cody's on his way home, so I'm going to take you guys out to the garden quick and do a little garden tour so that you guys can see what it looks like at the very beginning, and you can kind of see some of the mistakes I've made, or I don't know if they're mistakes, they're just mishaps that have happened. I do make mistakes, don't get me wrong, but like I had to put my cucumbers and my peppers out, and everything's, I hit my pan, everything, so they wouldn't get attacked by the, why do I forget their name every time? Fungus gnats. The fungus gnats would have just overwhelmed the plants and killed them. So it was the risk between keeping them inside, like they should have been cucumbers, peppers, and a warm, loving plant usually doesn't plant well in May, or losing the plant entirely inside, or risking it outside and potentially having an okay plant. I chose to risk it, and we're just gonna see. They're kind of, some of them are pretty sad, some of them I've lost, but I also planted seeds, and I will go over that with you in a second. So let's zip out to the garden. I'll show you what it looks like, so that as the year progresses, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, I'll give you guys a new garden update and a garden tour. Cody's home. Carly's like, I'm so excited. And you guys can see the progress of how a garden blooms. And if you're already a gardener, then maybe you just enjoy watching this process. Okay, let's go, because Carly's gonna start going off. In this corner, I should say, they're just nestled in the corner because it was just recently covered, so I'm just keeping them in the corner in case anything decides to dip. I've got a rose bush here that's just been hiding out. It's gonna go in the ground, but this is a lovely rose bush. Some green peppers that are looking weird. These were like potted. I've got lemon balm and another lemon balm that came back that I thought maybe was dead, and then we've got mint. Now the reason I've got them in pots is because lemon balm is part of the mint family, and mint and lemon balm and a couple other plants in that family are incredibly invasive. If I put it into the garden, it would take over everything, and that's not good. So they are potted plants for me, and they will grow big and bushy and lovely. And if you guys want, let me know. I can show you guys how to prune them to get bushier plants and things that like to be pruned. If you guys want me to share more gardening things, like actual usable tips and stuff, just let me know. I'm always happy to share what I know. And if you know things that you maybe see that I am not doing quite right, or maybe you know that there's a better way, please share, because I'm always learning, like I said, and I love when you guys share with me tips and tricks. I've learned so much from so many of you, and I really appreciate it. All right, so let's do a little garden tour of the backyard, because there will be small front garden, mostly for my medicinal herbs and some teas and things like that. But we're going to get that finished this week / into the weekend. And then the rest is going to be in pots, and that will just be enough for now. We'll see what works and we'll move on. So right now this is temporary with some of the boxes around the outside, but let me show you our garden. It is 10 feet by 14 feet. So it's quite large. And then I have 2 chunks in the back for fruiting plants. Now, I don't know if you heard me say before that the raspberry bushes had a spider mite infestation. So they did not do well. And I don't think they're going to survive. The one is looking really sad. I'm probably going to replace them. But the blueberry bush we bought is beautiful and thriving. So in this section, we have carrots. Right now it's looking like pretty plain. There are a couple of sprouts in there, and I don't know if you can see on camera, but I have walking rows, so I will be able to get in and out of here. But we have some onions right over here in this row. So all this is onions. Look, we have a little onion. We've got some parsley here just because we had some, and surprisingly it is not dead. In the back we have tomatoes. I just planted these 2, and then this was the one that's been in through all the cold, and he's looking a little floppy, but he's doing well. And then that sad boy is probably gonna die, but that's my heirloom tomato. It's pathetic, but what can you do? The bugs ate them, and I had to put it out early, and it just didn't survive. So he's looking more sad than he did this afternoon. Sorry, little guy. Look how sad he is. That's so sad. But hey, that's gardening, right? Okay, let me move out of the way. This row is garlic. And again, these are all companion planted. So carrots, onions, parsley, garlic, tomatoes across the back, strawberries all the way down to here, and a second row of strawberries. So I do have a mix. If you'll notice the white flowers and the pink flowers, I do have a mix of traditional strawberry plants and some hybrid varieties. Sometimes in the gardening community there's a little bit of controversy about hybrid or heirlooms or, you know, standard varieties, but that's all I'll say. But I'm fine with both. I think it's really fascinating, and it's really interesting to look into the difference and why people kind of share their opinions on having either or both. This guy was planted a little eagerly. I'm gonna release some of his little friends. There we go. Okay, so strawberries. We've already had a couple strawberries, but we do have a problem with the strawberries. We have a robin family living in the neighbor's awning. I don't know what it is, but the robins came and ate my strawberries that already came out, so we're gonna have to do something to keep the robins out. Over by the tomatoes is a small bush variety of basil, and it's surprisingly doing better than I thought it would, just based on the cold. But basil can be resilient, but basil can also die in an instant. So basil is very easily replaceable, though. I didn't actually get that from a nursery. I bought it from Spud, and it's just like a little variety with small leaves. These I showed you earlier. This is bush beans, so I just have a little bit of support so they can kind of weave in through that, so they'll come up as seeds. There's some thyme right here, And these are bush peas. Again, these guys, I was really not sure if they would survive. I'm gonna like lean this guy back up on the latticing. They don't really climb, but this can keep mildew and gross stuff off of them. So I have seeds planted beside each of them just in case these two decide to die on me. Way out in the back, we have a pickling bush cucumber, and these are just heirloom bush cucumbers. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see, they're probably gonna die on me. Let's go closer. So as you can see, they are living a very sad existence, and this is what frostbite looks like, or sunburn, either or. Can kind of look similar sometimes. I will probably lose these, but you never know. I might not, but again, it was either leave them inside to get eaten or risk them outside, and they have seeds planted beside them as well. So if I lose the plant, I should get sprouts of new cucumbers coming up. Anyway, in front of the cucumbers, we have rosemary. It's doing pretty good. Peppers. Now, of course, peppers are a warm crop. These two little guys are hanging on by a thread. I did have 2 other little transplants, but here's the thing. Peppers was just for fun. Peppers don't like to be transplanted. You should always direct sow peppers most of the time, unless you have a mature plant, but even then, they do not like their root system disturbed. So, just because I was gardening with the kids this year and doing seeds with the kids, I'm like, sure, let's do some peppers. I have lots of seeds anyway. These are heirloom. Again, most of these are heirloom varieties. But again, I just did that method where I put seeds beside them so that if they die, then whatever, I'm gonna have new plants coming up. And if they decide to thrive, then I can just pluck up the little seeds that I planted when they sprout. Because so far, I think I have 100% germination rate with the heirloom seeds that I purchased this year, which is wonderful. In the back, we've got a big row of sage. In the middle is a tricolored sage that I picked up at the store. Some marjoram, how do you say that? Because I feel like there's a few plant names that everybody says differently. This is one of them. Some little oregano that is happy and thriving. These two are just loving life. And I'm really surprised because this middle chunk, I really thought I would lose most of it. Zucchini, sad, dead, as you can see. I'm not gonna pull it out until it's all the way dead, but again, there's seeds in there, so we don't have to worry about that. We've got dill in the back, and we have lettuce in this whole row right up to the front, and as you can see, we have little lettuce friends. So again, lettuce seeds are little. I sprinkle like crazy, and I'll just pull out what gets too overcrowded. I'm gardening a little haphazardly, but do you see the little babies? Right there. Over in the back, we have spinach, which are coming up. If you can see again, right there, we've got some beautiful little spinach. And then chives, which I definitely thought died. I'll show you. I thought these died, but as you can see, the outsides died, and then these little sprouties came up in the center. So I only actually lost that one, and there are seeds in this section as well that will come up. So we will have some garlic chives. Over here are all my kale transplants that I really thought I was going to lose every single one of these kale, but every single one of them has survived and is actually doing really well. So I've got kale, which I understand this is gonna be crowded and crazy and I might have to pull some because kale gets big. And I put one on the end because I ran out of room, or I ran out of chamomile seeds. So I didn't think these were gonna live, and some of them have like this little dude right here died, but then look at the new growth coming up. So in each one, it's loving the weather, and see, there's some death, but then there's new life. So I think they're all gonna hang on and be good and groovy. And then we have the chamomile. So these are the ones that had the worst infestation, and as you can see, the brown all around it is like all the dead, but the centers came up over the rain and it looks like it wants to live. So go chamomile. I bought these and planted these today, and then I have little baby chamomile seeds coming up right there. And this is one little measly transplant that we had that somehow is living. I don't know. I don't understand it. It's fine. In the back here we have this nook there's blueberries. And again, it looks rocky and bad, but we filled the hole with like good soil, and like it's all good soil around this. And then we just get really like clayey soil that's just on the top layer, and that's fine. But here's our blueberries. So hopefully this grows into a good sized bush, because look at the little blueberries. And back there is these pieces of wood were holding down my rain tarp, but those raspberry bushes, look how sad. Death. Look at that one right there. Oh God. So I think I'm going to buy more raspberry bushes, because that was not a groovy situation with those spider mites, and they just annihilated them. These big pots that you see around, this is my big rain tarp. It was raining obviously, so it won't live here. I'm not that much of a slob. So all of these large pots, as you can see, those are all wildflowers. So they will bring the pollinators in, and this has wildflowers in it as well, and this does too, but they will be moving once they sprout. These are potatoes. We've got some white fingerling potatoes and 2 bags of purple potatoes, because those are Cody's favorite. And I know they don't look like there's a lot of dirt in them, but that's how you do potatoes. You add more as they sprout. So, and then on the other side of this, I have a bunch of plants that are going to be transplanted into the front. So I've got this set up, which I really didn't think anything of these would survive, but so far they are okay-ish. But yeah, these are just a few that are going to go in the front. Some of them are sad, but most of them will be fine. Don't judge my dandelions back there, and my grass still. The compost bin can only get so full every week. Okay, there you have it, you guys. The very first garden tour of the year. As you can see, the garden is not perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect. Some people really care about like very specific spacing. They don't like some people like to do one seed at a time so that they don't overcrowd, because they don't want to like pick through it. I don't mind as much. I like a bushy or more English cottage style garden. I love birds. We're getting more and more birds here, and it's making me so excited. But I'm excited to show you guys this garden as it progresses, and for you guys to see my successes and my failures, and I'm going to share it all with you guys, so that maybe you can learn from my mistakes when I make them. But until then, I'm going to leave you guys here, because this vlog has been long. So I hope you enjoyed this chattier little garden vlog. Let me know if you guys want specifics below. As always, I really appreciate you guys' feedback. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye!